I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the trees. I don't know how it did it.
From baffling missing 411 cases that leave us questioning reality to the elusive and legendary creatures like Bigfoot, we are here to discuss it all.
By God, if a hand come from the other side of that fence, grab this thing by the head and neck, just one-timed it.
1 o'clock in the morning, I'm awakened by lights. Bright lights. I'm talking about, Josh, the lights were so bright, it looked like daytime, so I thought it was the morning.
There's just something going around, attacking our sheep. And my grandma used to talk about this guy, Ketso, that means, Bigfoot in our language, so.
If you have ever found yourself captivated by the unexplained or intrigued by the mysterious, you are in the right place. Welcome to Mysteries Unknown. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Mysteries Unknown live with me and your co-host, Daniel. Daniel, I'm going to ask before we get started. I'm going to ask.
What?
Where's your coffee at, man?
Man, I don't even have to tell you because what don't I drink that often?
I know, man. I think so far.
What am I drinking?
Mountain Dew is what you're drinking.
There you go.
I've mentioned that in almost every single episode, I think, since we've done these lives. But guys, we're really excited to have you here tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff, everything from Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, more Dogman stuff. You guys love Dogman stuff. So we got a good show for you tonight. Daniel has done a lot of research on tonight's show. Daniel is an amazing guy. He spent a lot of time in the military. He's got a lot of experiences he's going to talk about and a lot of research about a specific topic, but we're going to get up that in just a second. But also shout out real quick to everybody in the chat. Who we got, man?
We got Taff, the Wanderer, and we have Cindy Proctor. Yeah, Cindy, it is going to be a good one. Well, at least I hope it's going to be a good one. I know Josh hopes the same thing. So
I hope so. I hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and don't be afraid to tell us if our lives aren't, if they suck or whatever. We just try to bring you guys entertainment, kind of unplug for a couple hours and just hang out with us. A couple of housekeeping things. Last week, we made an announcement. If you are a member and you join this month in the tier $2.99 and above, you're going to get a gift from my wife. We're going to be mailing it out to you. Some of you guys who joined last week did not send me your email address, or not email address, your address, so we can make sure you guys get that out to you. So make sure to email me. The new email is mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com. So make sure you get that. Also, if you would like to come on the show and chat with me and Daniel, you can hit us up on StreamYard. I think I put the link. If not, let me know. But we're still trying to get this call-in show going, but it's going to take a minute. But anyways, so I know you've been doing a lot of research, man. Let's jump right into it. So kind of if you want to, we probably should wait till a couple more people jump on, but
sure.
Kind of give the people that are here kind of a brief synopsis of what we're going to be talking about tonight, man.
Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about some Dogman.
Wait just a second. See if I've got it. Hang on. Nope, I don't. I had a Dogman sound pulled up, but I lost it.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about Dogman, and what's really cool about these two stories, and I sent them to you. Mm-hmm. They're literally 2 hours away from my house.
Yeah, that's a little too close, man.
So, so that's pretty awesome. Then we're going to be talking about some UFO encounters.
Yeah.
And one of these UFO encounters, I have reached out numerous times to a lot of security police that were around and stationed at that base when this happened, and I was told not in the comments, but I was private messaged to stop asking about it.
You know, that's pretty crazy, man. You know, it makes you wonder why. Like, why is that such a big deal when somebody starts digging into this stuff? Like, why do they care so much? You know, so it's going to be a good one. I know that you've spent a lot of time, you know, researching this topic, and so I'm anxious to get into it, guys. Also, too, if you hear a lot of noise in the background, I am out of town. I'm at a hotel, and so I don't have a normal setup. But anyways, got some traveling. We'll be traveling for probably the next couple of weeks. But anyways, man, I'm excited. You know, I haven't heard all this stuff. You do a phenomenal job of researching, and so I'm excited to hear what you got, man.
Okay, and well, here's the one I'm going to kick off first with, and I'm going to preface this by saying that you guys can Google this. You can Google the story. You can find this story on here, and I don't want to call the person a liar that authored this story, but there's a lot of liberties taken at that story, and the reason I ask is, again, Scary Police. I belong to a few Facebook groups, actually probably about 10 Facebook groups that are just strictly Air Force Security Police, and we're talking with guys who are that were air police back in the 60s and 70s, security police in the 80s and 90s, and security forces from the late 90s to current. They're called security forces now. I put in a question on every single one of these pages. Hey, were you stationed at this air base? If you were, hey, let me know. And the ones that replied back with the date ranges that I was looking for, I sent them messages, personal messages, and then I commented, say, hey, I sent you a message. I had a few people kick back and say, hey, you know, yeah, I've kind of heard about that story, but, you know, wasn't around when it happened. And then I got the reply back that I was hoping to get back. And the reply, and I'm just going to put a disclaimer out here, you guys. I typed it up, so I'm going to read the disclaimer. The names in the story have been changed. The person that relayed this story to me wishes to remain anonymous, and I will honor his request. This is the first-hand account of the event that happened in November of 1988. As for the Morbach monster stories that are out there, I cannot talk about the validity of their stories. However, for this account, in my opinion, I believe it to be 100% factual. And the reason I say that is I've been in, literally the last week, I've been in contact with this individual. He was giving me details that these stories just did not handle, did not cover. A lot of the stuff in the story did not make sense to me. Being that I was in this profession for 5 years in the Air Force, things just weren't adding up in the story. I typed everything up that he had sent me, and
Yeah.
I sent you a copy of it. I sent him the person I spoke with. I sent him a copy of it, and he gave me the thumbs up. He said, "Man, that is spot on. Thank you for changing the names." He goes, "It just upsets me that someone took liberties with
Yeah.
the story and published it." Now, he said some of the things like the time frame is not correct, the flight is not correct, and the flight means it's like the platoon. It's the group of
Okay.
guys that are on duty. It's called a flight in the Air Force. Navy, Marine Corps, Army, they're called platoons, I assume. And he says this doesn't jive up. And then listen to the stories, listen to other YouTubers cover the story, reading the story that was already published. It's just not jiving. So
Okay.
I believe from what I heard from this individual to be 100% factual. And also, I was directed to another person that was also there. That person has not gotten back to me yet, but this person gave me another name to reach out to. They read what I sent them, but they had not replied back. So
it's amazing to me how many people are scared to talk about this stuff. You know, mean, that adds a lot of truth to the story for me. When you have military personnel that are they're just afraid to talk about it, especially when you get the kind of threats you can get, in the military. If you've seen some stuff, man, they take that very serious. So thanks again for the research, man. I'm excited to hear the story. I'm excited to have you read it. Guys, we got a really good show. If you're just jumping on, make sure we're going to be talking about some Bigfoot encounters, the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs. My dad has got a really crazy firsthand UFO experience that we filmed. It was an earlier episode, and I want to be playing the interview section for you guys. You don't want to miss it. We'll be playing that later on in the video. It's really, really incredible. So we got some good stuff for you. So excited to have everybody here. Hit us up in the chat if you're here. Let us know you're here. Let us know you're watching, where you're from. I'm amazed, man. We have people from all over the world watching this show. It blows my mind. So
Yeah, we
I'm
had
excited to get
someone
into it.
in the last few ones that we've done, Finland,
Mhm.
the UK, Ireland, Australia. Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah, really crazy. And I'm just we're honored to help you guys just be entertained for the next couple of hours, and hopefully you guys are enjoying that and having fun. So don't be afraid to say hi in the chat. Hit us up again if you want to become a member. You can do that, and if you become a member this month and you're in the $2.99 tier and above, you're going to get a special gift in the mail. My wife has been working really hard on putting these packages together to send you guys. So if you join, make sure to email me, give me your address and information, and we'll get that out to you. So, well, man, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, dude. I'm always ready, man.
Hey, everybody out there that's watching, you guys ready?
It's going to be a good one, guys. It's a good story.
Look, we got a mystery member, Taff the Wanderer.
Taff the Wanderer. Taff, you didn't have to do that, man. He's an amazing guy. Like, he is me and him go way back. Very dear personal friend of mine. Always supports me. And he was actually, guys, he's the very first person who ever came on this channel with me. And so I wouldn't be here doing it. So, man, you didn't have to do that. I appreciate it very, very much. I'll make sure we get that to you. So
yeah, he wants that free
gift. You didn't have to do that, man, but he does, man. He does. But the funny thing is he knows he could just have it if he asked me, but I appreciate the support, man.
I'll make sure to send you my address.
Dude, you got one coming.
I know.
You know you do. You know you do. I've got all right, you ready?
We ready. Are you guys ready? Here we go.
All right, let me cue the music. Here we go.
Do your thing.
Let me know if the music's too loud, guys. Okay.
The legend of the Morbach monster. The Morbach werewolf, real name Thomas Johannes Baptist Schweitzer, is a figure in dramatic lore, folklore, and urban legend. He is said to have once been a soldier during the Napoleonic Wars who led a gang of army deserters in the Brencastle, Wittlich region before he was cursed to become a werewolf by one of his victims, leading him to become even more vicious as he terrorized the Morbach area until he was slain in the town of Wittlich. However, it is said he would return if the candle from the statue of the Virgin Mary that's over his grave ever went out. So let's get into this story. This is the incident at Morbach Ammo Dump. At approximately 22:45 hours, Charlie Flight assembled for their guard mount. What a guard mount is, they go over the post. They're gonna where everybody's going to get posted, any briefings, any information, ammo checks, weapons checks, uniform checks, all that type of stuff, pass on any pertinent information. They were working the shift called a mid shift. It was at, I'm going to go in civilian terms, from 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. Staff Sergeant Russell, and this is the person who relayed the story, his account, the actual account of the story, and his name has been changed. So Staff Sergeant Russell, he was assigned the air supervisor. His call sign designation was Alpha 1 for the area that night. Now, there were 3 alarm response teams. Those are called ART teams. And what those are 2-man mobile patrols. They were designated Alphas 2, 3, and 4. There were also 2 close-in sentries manning the entry control point. Airman First Class Wilson and Airman First Class Sanchez were on Alpha 3 that night. Now, the duties of what they had to do is they had to go around. If there's any structures inside the sector that they are responsible for, they're going to go through. They're going to check any doors, any locks, things like that. They're going to monitor their sector of fencing. They're going to respond to anything that's out of the ordinary. They are to remain vigilant. They have a route that they would drive around, and then they have an area they could post up on to get an overall view of the area. Now, one of the duties that all of the teams that had to do during this was walk the perimeter fence. Now, Staff Sergeant Russell, and I'll just call him Sergeant Russell. Sergeant Russell relayed to me that this is how big this area is, you guys. Every shift, the perimeter fence has to be walked. Okay? It takes roughly 2 hours to walk this perimeter fence. So this is a huge area. And within this area, they have what they call igloos. Okay? Igloos are structures that house munitions. And so what they'll do is they will, like I said, check everything and then remain vigilant. So each security team, each ART team was assigned a set of nods, night vision goggles. Okay. So Alpha 3 goes up, does their first check, drives around the sector, checks everything. Then they go up to what they call lookout point, which is the highest elevated point inside the area. Now, what caught me a little bit was when Sergeant Russell was relaying this story to me. There was no fire team building. There was no tower, which would alleviate a fire team, which is a 4-man team that has an automatic machine gun and then rifles and usually like a grenade launcher of some kind. And then your tower. Now, what normally happens is that the fire team and the tower officer are manned by host nation. This being Germany, it surprised me that the host nation really had nothing to do with this area. Okay, so as they're on lookout, I'll call it Lookout Hill, while they were there, they were just scanning the area like they're supposed to, checking things out, and they heard rustling off to the side of them. Now, Sergeant Russell, when I asked him, I go, well, what do you mean they heard rustling on the side of him? He goes, this area was pretty much a forest with a giant fence around it, a 9-foot high fence. Okay. And again, people's like, well, why did they have Germans overseas, their military bases? They do as little as they possibly can in way of tearing or ripping down forests or anything like that. They do everything they can to keep it as natural as possible. So it's not unheard of to have patches of forest on a military base, in and around hardened aircraft structures, igloos, things like that. So it's not unheard of. So as they're scanning their area, they hear this rustling off to the side. And all of a sudden they hear something like tearing it up. It's just tearing through, and they're like, what is going on? And so they start, and they're looking with the nods. Ooh, and I wasn't there, but I can imagine what it's like because I've been in an area like this. Okay, this is called a weapon storage area, WSA. They look to the area, and they see in these trees and these bushes, they see this thing just rise up out of the trees, through the trees and out of the bushes, and they hear this growl, this guttural growl, and they said it was a dark figure. Man, I'm getting goosebumps talking about this.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, man.
And it comes rushing out of the trees and out of the bushes, and it starts taking off, and it starts running through where the igloos are. This frightened these airmen so bad that they called in for a canine unit. They radioed control. And I can imagine this is what it sounded like. Alpha Control. This is Alpha 3. This is Alpha 3. Be advised, we have an unidentified intruder in the area, in our sector. It's going between this building and this building. When you're an area supervisor, or if you are another art team, if you're anybody that's within that area, your stress level, your anxiety, your alertness goes to like 40. From a 0 to a 40, like that. You are automatically mobile, you're hyper vigilant. And I can only imagine how scared these two guys were that they called in a military working dog. Okay. So when they did, of course they had the blotter, which is their they take note of any incidents that's going on. When I asked Sergeant Russell, he said this happened at exactly 2:37 in the morning. So when they come in, entry control point comes in, opens up the gates and stuff for the military working dog, and who shows up is military working dog Rocky. He is described as a huge, stocky Rottweiler who is badass and fearless. Like, this dog is just a beast in himself. And so they meet up with Alpha 3, the handler, Rocky, and Alpha 3. They meet up with them, and they're like, he's over here. It went this way, and it showed him the route, and Rocky picked up on it automatically. And he's going, and he's following. He's literally right on this thing's, on its trail, knowing where it's at. He's following it. They go in between this area that they had chased it into, and they said it just disappeared. Well, when Rocky went into there, he stopped and he started backing up, and he's like, the handler's like, come on, boy, come on, get in there. And Rocky's backing up, and he turns around, he starts running away, and then he lays down, and which means he's not going to work. He's done working. And at the urging of his dog handler, he's like, boy, come on. And he's trying to pull him, and Rocky is anchoring himself to the ground. He's not going any further. So they continue to do a sweep. Now understand, Alpha 3, Alpha 1, and I'm sure Alpha 2 and Alpha 4 were on the lookout as well in their areas if it ever popped up over there. But Alpha 3 and Alpha 1, the area supervisor, Sergeant Russell, they were chasing this thing, and it, like they said, it disappeared. They showed Rocky, hey, this is, they showed the handler, this is where it happened. Again, he would not move. So they still did a sweep of the area. Everybody found nothing. They found nothing. They waited to get lighter. And so when the sun started coming up, they did an even more thorough search. They checked everything. And as they went through the route, they followed that route again. Rocky again stopped right where he stopped before and started backing up, turned around, and walked back and laid down. And again, at the urging of his handler, come on, boy, let's go. You got to seek. You got to go. He anchored himself into the ground again. He's like, I'm not moving any forward. I mean, I can imagine what this dog, and again, you think about it. I didn't put it in my story, but Sergeant Russell said Rocky weighed every ounce of 100+ pounds. So he was a big, rugged, thick Rottweiler, So after that, they went and they had to fill out an incident report. They wrote down what they saw. They wrote down what they experienced. And later on, people from headquarters came up to them and said, hey, we need you to redact parts of your story. We need you to change your verbiage to from saying unknown creature to unknown or unauthorized intruder. And all three guys were like, no, we know what we saw. We know what we heard. We're not changing our story. And so after Sergeant Russell, relayed that to me, I asked him, I go, let me find it here. I go, Sergeant Russell, tell me about Airman First Class Wilson and Senior Airman Sanchez. And he goes, they're good troops. They're good guys. They're my friends. And I believe my guys. And I asked him, I go, so what are the chances? Do you know if there's any way I can get a hold of Airman Wilson, Senior Airman Sanchez. And he goes, unfortunately for Airman Wilson, he's pretty much just dropped off grid. No one has seen or heard from him in years. And unfortunately, a decade ago, we lost Airman Sanchez. Airman Sanchez passed away. So, and it was, I could tell when I was talking to him, he's kind of choked up when he heard that, because, I mean, you guys got to understand, this was not a giant base. The camaraderie that these guys felt for each other is something that a normal civilian normally will never feel, because they don't understand the high stress and the high level of aggressiveness and stress and anxiety that we feel on a daily basis. And I feel that I can speak on this, bring a perspective to the story, because I've done that. I've worked that mid shift. Yeah. I've pulled area supervisor. I was an art team leader and art team member. I've pulled these posts. I worked at a German Air Force base. I've seen things at a German Air Force base that I still cannot explain. I've heard things. I've seen things. I know the layout of the base. I can close my eyes and visualize what that weapon storage area looks like. I could probably draw it up for you guys, because I have an intimate knowledge of that. So I understand what they were going through. And just telling you the story, I had the goosebumps. I felt the hair on my arms raise up, because I can just understand. 1 minute you're just nonchalant, you're relaxed, you're checking everything out like you're supposed to, and then you see something that you should not see, something that should not exist. How did it get into the area? The only way that it could have got into the area was vault a 9-foot fence. A 9-foot fence, and it's not uncommon at this area, as Sergeant Russell told me, for the airmen to experience wildlife. It's not uncommon for them, because as they would walk the perimeter fence, a lot of times wild boar would come charging up to the fence and scare the crap out of the airmen. Luckily, there's a fence there, But another thing that I found odd is that on the other side of the perimeter fence, just on the side of the tree line, Sergeant Wilson said you would see dozens of hunters, hunting stands all along the wood line, all along around this area, which tells me it's an active area, for prey. If indeed it was. Now, what they're calling the Morbach monster in folklore is a werewolf. Okay. Yeah. And if it is a true monster, and again, like the lore is, if someone blows a candle out or the candle goes out and does not get relit, the Morbach monster is supposed to reappear and terrorize the countryside, until it gets slain, and then they light the candle again, I assume, but yeah, so I mean, that's just the way I look at it. And I asked him a couple other questions about the stories that was out there, and he goes, I don't know anything about any deer that were found mutilated in the woods. And this is another thing that I found that was really odd, professionally speaking. You would not send a security police team into the woods because you heard something off in the woods. It's not in the area. What you would do is you would contact local authorities and say, hey, outside this area, there's something going on. You guys might want to go check it out. So there you go, guys. That's the story of the Morbach monster. Story.
That's wild, man. That thing gives me chills, because for it to jump the fence, be on the base like that, and for those guys, they're pretty credible. I mean, they're not. What do they have to gain by making that up? Because I mean, I didn't spend any time in the military, but I know in law enforcement, man, like your word is everything. And so saying those things and then having those people tell them to basically keep their mouth shut, man, that's pretty scary. And I appreciate the work you put into that, man, and I appreciate you just researching that. And I know that hit close to home, because that's for one, you've been there, and you know what that area is like, and all that stuff. So thanks for the hard work. Thanks for the research. I know people have enjoyed this, and the people after live will enjoy that. That's a really crazy story. Guys, if you want to jump on the chat, let us know what you think that creature was. What's your thoughts on that? We'd love to hear from you guys. So we got some comments here, man. You want to jump into the comments? And again, dude, thanks for your service. Thanks for the story.
Hey,
that was a good one. That was
It's
a
my
good one.
pleasure. Hey,
Yeah,
Cindy.
that was a good one.
Cindy Proctor says I'm still trying to figure out evil interdimensional being, perhaps. 100% these things are evil. Honestly, um, again, here's my thing. I have a hard time labeling Dogman. Uh, I don't believe it's a Dogman. I
Yeah.
think it is a werewolf. Honest to
Yeah.
gosh, I think it's a werewolf. And the reason the one man that I trust the most in this world was my dad. And my dad saw
Yeah.
a werewolf in Alaska before he went to Vietnam while he was out hunting elk. And what he
Mhm.
saw,
That's crazy.
it chilled him to the bone and what he
Yeah.
saw. So
Yep. It's one of those things that doesn't make sense. They're not supposed to be there. And one of the things about Dogman, werewolf encounters, whatever name you want to put it. And I think your dad was right with what he saw. I mean, if you trust him and that, but there's a feeling that comes along with these creatures from everybody I've listened into. Sometimes Bigfoot, you have a Bigfoot encounter. It's not always just an ominous, scary feeling. Sometimes it's obviously scary because of what you're seeing, but with Dogman, every time there's fear involved, like massive amount of fears,
Right.
werewolf Dogman. So it's definitely 100% evil. We have another comment here. Mr. Duffy 81 says, "What's up, guys? What's up, man? Glad you're here. Always glad to see you, man." James Hood says there is a UFO connection to all of these cryptoids and a demonic connection to it all. They who call themselves aliens, who also deceive humans, are demonic entities. And I agree with you, James. I really do. I come from a perspective of faith. I'm a Christian. I've never hid that on this channel. Talk about it all the time. And I believe that these creatures that's what they are. But if you would like to leave us your comments, let us know what you think they are. Jump on board. We'd love to talk to you. We got some really cool stuff coming. Here in just a little bit, I'm going to be dropping some video of my dad who had a pretty scary UFO encounter. I was about 5 years old. I don't remember any of it, but I'm like you, Daniel. If my dad says it, I believe it. He's probably the most honest person I've ever met. So we got some good stuff ahead. Got a couple of other things that I've pulled, resources that I've pulled to be playing for you guys as well. But let's see what else we got in the comments, man.
Well, Mr. McDuff is writing a book, and I love it. I love that he's
Awesome.
being very, very.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, I mean, he's like laying it out. A werewolf is a human being. It turns into a wolf. Yes and no, depending on how you look at it. I've also heard where a wolf can also turn into a human, where their primary form is a wolf. So, but yeah, you're 100% right. And skinwalkers, I don't like to talk about skinwalkers. I don't.
Scary.
It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
Well, I will jump in and I'll say something real quick. And me and you've talked about that. Over this last year, we've had a lot of conversations. And guys, me and my wife used to go explore haunted hotels, and we would go into these areas and do this, and we would explore these haunted hotels, and we had all kinds of crazy things happen. And maybe one of these days I'll drop some of the footage, but I never want to bring glory to it because it's demonic. And it hit me one day that if it's not light, it's dark, and it ain't from God, it's evil, And so we had something basically, I believe, we brought home with us. And so sometimes when you talk about some of these subjects and things, you got to be very careful because of those things. But anyways, man, it's a crazy world, man. In God's universe, there's a lot of things we just don't understand. But guys, if you're just jumping on, glad to see you here. Make sure to hit us up in the comments. We love talking to you guys. If you've had an encounter or something you want to talk about, you can send me an email at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com. Excited that you guys are here. Also, this month, we're going to be doing a special. If you join as a member this month for the month of June in the $2.99 tier or above, we're going to be sending you out a package, a welcome package for being here. My wife has put together a really cool package for you guys just for being part of this community. So if you do, make sure to email me, let me know you've joined, and that way we can get that stuff out to you guys. So Bo's here. What's up, man? How's it going, Bo? Good to see you. Glad you're here. So yeah, man, it's good stuff. I'm probably going to go ahead. I got a soundbite that I'm going to play, and this came from a podcast some of you guys might listen to. And I pulled this snippet because it kind of ties into what we're talking about tonight. You know, I believe Bigfoot's more than just an animal. And I believe there is a connection between Bigfoot, UFOs, orbs, things like that. And I know you might have a little bit different opinion, but I thought this was an interesting thought. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And guys, would love to know your opinion. We care about what you think. And so make sure to join us in the chat, man. We're real active in there. We like to talk to you guys. So you got anything else before I play this?
No, sir. Bo, I just wanted to say I am going, hopefully we'll be able to do your 2 stories you sent. I am going to read those, and I'm going to read those hopefully on our next live.
Yeah. I think those would be good to read. We want to do some more production value stuff on that story. That's a good one. So, dude, what did you just do?
I didn't do anything. I just said that I would tell Bo that I would read a story probably on the next live.
You left a super chat, man. Oh my gosh.
I know what you're talking about, man.
Guys, make sure to show Daniel some love. These lives wouldn't happen without him. And he's just an amazing guy, great co-host, become an amazing friend. So I don't know what to say. I'll send that back to you when I send you that stuff in the mail. So how about that?
Not. I swear to gosh, if you do, I will never be your friend again, ever.
Oh, don't do that, man. Don't do that. It's the dynamic duo. You have to be here for these, man. People love you on these lives. So you didn't have to do that. I appreciate the support.
Stop.
I'm just trying to, like, guys, I've got big plans for this channel and a lot of things we want to do. And so, but it wouldn't happen without anybody here in this community, without Daniel, without anybody who's been a part. If you've ever left a comment or watched an episode, I'm very grateful. And I'm just thankful to be able to do this. But thanks again, Daniel. I don't know what to say, but you didn't have to do that. So
stop it.
All right. I'll stop. So this is from the podcast. They have a YouTube channel called Belief Hole. I don't agree with a lot of the things that they talk about. I think they kind of get way off. You know, Daniel, I know what you think of them, but I thought this sound piece was extremely interesting, and so I thought it was worth listening to. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know you've not heard this yet, but let us know in the comments what you think about this.
Okay.
I might have to.
Mount St. Helens apes have lived near the mountain for over 300 years. The old Indian chiefs have told me they see white birds that land and let hairy, giant-sized people out of them that speak the language of the Aboriginal people that were here when they first arrived here. They tell the stories about these giant-sized people who carried away many Indian girls. They know how to dry salmon on flat, hot rocks in the sun and store them in caves for the winter in the high country. The Indians saw the objects drop out of the skies over 300 years ago and land with many odd-looking people that have big eyes, wear silver-colored suits that shine in the sun. They say they make their eyes hurt and burn. They said they have a blue light that stops all kinds of animals. Weird. The old chiefs said little people come in small white birds. Big people come out of the big white birds that do not make any sound like birds. No quacking. They said these white birds do not have any wings, and they go straight up and come straight down.
Wild. What do you think about that, man?
Oh man, I don't know.
That's exactly. I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, if you pull it back and you look at the whole picture, man, I personally think, I know Tucker Collison, or what is his name? Tucker Collison. I can't pronounce this word, but I think most of you guys know what I'm talking about. But he came on. That's it. I'm dyslexic. Forgive me. So, anyways, thanks for the save. But I think that he talked about it. And I think that they're demonic. Who's to say that they don't use that to travel? They don't do certain things like that. And these things are just connected in that way. I mean, if you look at things from a biblical perspective, like I do, a lot of the stuff just makes sense. Now, we're not experts here. We don't claim to be experts. I am not an expert. I am somebody who hears these encounters and hears these things. And I've had a couple of experiences, but I am in no way an expert. But these are just thoughts, opinions. do with them what you will, guys. But we're just here to talk about this. I want to say shout out to somebody special. I got, let me go back up here. Where did it go? War Chief was here. Yeah. War Chief, thanks for being here, man. I got your email, man. I'd love to talk to you this week. If you want to give me a call, I put my number in there. I'd love to have you on the show. He's got a really incredible story, guys, and I'm really excited to have him on if he'll come on and share that story. Really, really, really scary stuff. But anyways, so let's see. Elaine says, wow, that's crazy. It's very crazy. What a wild story, man. I mean, it's wild. So,
all right.
What do you think, man?
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Now, if anybody who's new hasn't heard any of my experiences before, I've had one, like, for sure sighting.
Yep.
It was a female. I did not feel any fear from her at all. Now,
Right.
my initial fear was, oh my gosh, that thing is big. What is that? We're not supposed to. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at a Bigfoot. You know, the times that I encountered the female, the two younger ones, and the large, I want to say alpha male, I never felt like I was in danger when they were around. But the juvenile male, not the two smaller ones, but I want to say like the big brother.
Yeah.
I feel that if he was the only one around, then yeah, we would have had some
You'd been in
some
trouble.
big trouble. But
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I have a really hard time believing that. You know, I've heard people say just recently that Bigfoot are pets of aliens, and that they come down, they release them to feed, and to kidnap people and bring them back up. Again, I guys, what I saw was flesh and blood. If I'd had no fear in my life at all over anything, I could have reached out of my dad's car while we were driving by, and I could have reached out and tried to shake its hand. That's how real it was. So, but again, I'm not one that's going to go against, native folklore, because I'm part Native American, I'm part Shawnee, and part Cherokee. So I'm not going to turn my back on my heritage either.
It's all in their culture. And I think that these things have the ability to be in physical form and still be more than that. And that's kind of where I lean with it. But that's what's so cool about this world, is everybody can have their own opinion, and nobody's an expert, but we all have had our experiences, and that's what makes it so awesome. I'm going to play this encounter that my dad had. And my dad he's my hero. He's an amazing person. Taught me almost everything I know, and he's a great, great man. But my dad's one of these guys, if he tells you it happened, it absolutely happened. So early on, when I started this channel, I had him on, and we sat down at his house and recorded this episode. So I took the interview portion out of this, and I put it together for you guys so y'all can watch it. So I'm play this. It's about almost 4 minutes long. It's worth watching, guys. It's a good encounter. So here we go. Why don't you tell us kind of what happened, and take us back to the early 80s?
All right, yeah, the early 80s. It was not dark yet. It was just still dusk dark, and you could see good. But I was driving, and we come across Piney Bay, the bridge there. And I don't know why I did what I did, but I just happened to look off to my left, and over the Arkansas River, I saw a disc in the sky, and it was up quite a ways.
How big was it?
Well, I couldn't tell at that time.
Okay.
I don't know, I suppose it looked from that distance, which was a long ways across that fields and stuff. I don't know. All I can remember, it looked like it might have been as big as a car at that distance. And the thing I noticed was, when the farther I went, it stayed pretty much even with me, and it was a long ways across the fields, and but I could see it, but I knew where the river was. I knew which direction it flowed and everything. So I just kept going, and every once in a while I take this curious glance off to my left, and it was still there. No farther ahead, no farther behind, pretty much even. And I thought, that dumb thing's following the car. Said, well, I couldn't get away from it. So I just kept going. And there's a place that we had gotten to, and I noticed though that it had been getting closer. And the farther I went, the closer it got. And I thought, this is really strange and a little scary.
Yeah.
So Josh, we got to where I was getting ready. We went through, that's what it was. We went through Lamar and was going to turn on Brick Plant Road, which is off to the left. Well, by that time, that it was a disc, and it was just really close. And it was treetop level by that time, high by that time. And so I pulled over on the right side of the road just to see what was going to happen. Well, what happened was when the disc got a little closer, it went down behind some trees.
That's
and there
pretty
was
scary.
a house. Yeah, there was a house right there on the left called the Kettle Hut place. It went down behind those trees, and I had pulled over and stopped and was going to see what would happen next. Well, what happened next was that thing came up from behind the trees over top of the house, and it looked as big as the house. And there it was, hovering right there above the treetops, above the house, and with blue, if I'm not mistaken, it might have had blue and white, or no, it was red and white lights going around the bottom of the thing. And it just so happened there's a man across the street changing a flat tire. So I hollered at the guy, I said, hey, mister, what's that? And I pointed up. He turned around and he said, oh, I don't know what that is. Well, I had just about all that I could handle, because I had Josh was in the back seat.
Yeah, it was
guy.
5, right? About 5.
About 5 years old. And I thought, nah, this is just too dangerous for me.
Yeah.
So we took off and went home. And I never saw anything like it, like that close anyway. And but it's still stamped in my memory.
Yeah.
I can see each progression as that UFO, and that's what it was.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Followed us down the road, and it just scared us.
Bro.
Dude, here's the thing. I've heard the audio. It's the first time I've seen your dad. Dude, you're no longer the man. That's the man. I love your dad, dude.
My dad is an incredible human being, amazing father. I was so blessed, am blessed to have him as a dad, and he always supported me in everything I did. And his story with that has never changed, guys. It's never changed over the years. It's always been the same. And, I believe him 100%. He said that he was very scared for his family, for us. And so he left. But what's weird about that encounter, it's all within, if you take a 5-mile radius, that's all the same area that I had my encounters with Bigfoot, all in that area. And so again, there's another encounter with Bigfoot UFOs. Never saw any orbs, but I had some encounters with Bigfoot on that property all the way from when I was 14 years old until about 5 years ago, my last encounter when I was with my wife. But some crazy stuff. But I will tell you something real quick to brag on my dad is my dad had a pretty traumatic thing happen to him several years ago. I think it's been 12 years, maybe longer, but we almost lost him. He had a brain aneurysm. Basically, some blood clusters grew together and burst in his brain, and the doctors went in for surgery. They told us, he's going to be blind and paralyzed if he comes out of the surgery. And he came out of the surgery just fine. First time when I walked in the scene, he came out, he was fine. He actually told me a joke right off the bat. So I was like, okay, he's good. But I will plug something, guys. Since that day, my dad has become a published author. If you love Christian novels, if you love any of that kind of stuff, he is an amazing author. He's written several books. And so I'm going to plug his book, but he's got this book. He's got lots of them. He's got this book, if you can see it, called A Good Clean Murder. And it's a really good book, a lot of mystery stuff. He does historical stuff, all kinds of stuff. But if you're interested in this book, one of the other processing, things like that, email me at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll make sure to get in touch with him and how you can get that. So Anyways, love my dad. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But I thought you could enjoy that.
I did. I really did. So
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
it's funny
Yeah.
you play. It's a good segue into one of our next stories.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, let's do it.
What I'm going to read here is I'm going to read this one because when I was researching the main one, the one I was told, stop asking about it, I came across this story, and this one happened earlier. And so this is a UFO encounter, and this is the Lake and Heath Bentwaters incident. This was a series of radar and visual contacts with unidentified flying objects over the airbase in eastern England on the night of August 13th and 14th, 1956. Involved its Air Force. The incident has since gained some prominence in the the literature of UFOlogy and the popular media. Now, as we're talking about this, everybody knows within the last, 5 years, the U.S. government has started releasing documents regarding UFOs. They've also been releasing gun video footage from some of our fighter planes.
Yep.
So, I'm telling you guys, there's stuff. There's stuff
going on for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not gonna get into everything here about misidentifications and things like that. I'm just gonna go into the incidents of actually what had happened, what was seen. The commonly cited sequence of events is recorded in the original Project Blue Book file by the U.S. Air Force, subsequently analyzed by the Condon Committee's report, and by astrophysic physicist James E. McDonald. Now, I don't know that guy. I don't run those circles, so I don't know if he's super into the know or not. I don't know. The incident began at the United States Air Force tenanted RAF Bentwaters in Suffolk. Now, what tenanted means is it is what's up there, Donna Turkey? Welcome. Bentwaters is a British airbase, but it is pretty much occupied and ran by the United States. On the evening of the 13th of August, 1956, this was a dry, largely clear night, with observers noted an unusual large number of shooting stars associated with the Perseid meteor shower. At 21:30 hours, radar operators at the base tracked a target appearing similar to a normal aircraft return, approaching the base from the sea at the apparent speed of several thousand miles per hour. They also tracked a group of targets moving slowly to the northeast, which merged into a single, very large return, several times the strength of that of a B-36. You guys, a B-36 bomber is massive. It is massive. It's one of the biggest bombers ever produced by the United States Air Force. Before moving off the scope to the north, as well as a further rapid target proceeding from east to west. A T-33 trainer from the 512th Fighter Interceptor Squadron, crewed by First Lieutenant Charles Mentz and Andrew Rowe, was directed to investigate the radar contact, but saw nothing. No visual sightings of the object were made from Bentwaters in this period, with the exception of a single amber star-like object, which subsequently identified as probably being Mars, then low in the southeast. At 22:55 hours, a target was detected approaching Bentwaters from the east of a speed estimated around 2,000 to 4,000 miles per hour. It faded from the scope as it passed over the base, possibly suggesting anomalous propagandation. As again, I have Tennessee education, you guys. $10 words are not my vocabulary.
I'm good, man. You're good.
As a source for the target, although the ground-based radar also almost always has a blind spot overhead, it reappeared to the west. However, as it passed overhead, a rapidly moving white light was observed from the ground, while the pilot of a C-47 traveling at 4,000 feet over Bentwaters reported that a similar light had passed beneath his aircraft. At this point, Bentwaters alerted the U.S. tenanted RAF Lakenheath base 40 miles away to the northwest to look out for the target. Ground personnel at Lakenheath made visual sightings of several luminous objects, including two which arrived, made a sharp change of course, and appeared to merge before moving off. The angular size of these objects was compared to that of a golf ball at arm's length, and they started to dwindle to a pinpoint size as they moved away, an observation which seemed to rule out a boiled or bright meteor. The final phase of the incident was described in some detail by Tech Sergeant Forrest Perkins, who was the watch supervisor in the Lakenheath Radar Air Traffic Control Center, and who wrote directly to the Condon Committee in 1968. Perkins claims that two RAF Venom interceptors, it's like the de Havilland, I don't know what those are, Venom interceptors were scrambled and directed towards a radar target near Lakenheath. The pilot of the first Venom made contact, but then found that the target maneuvered behind him and chased the aircraft for a period of around 10 minutes, despite the latter's taking violent evasive actions. Perkins characterized the pilot as getting worried, excited, and also pretty scared. The second Venom was forced to return to its home station due to engine problems. Perkins stated that the target remained on their screen for a short period of time before leaving in a northerly heading. So that is the first day that had happened. They go through a lot of research on here where they were trying to disprove what was going on. The Condon Committee included a case of its analysis largely in response to Perkins' letter. Aside from the Blue Book file, it was also able to obtain a previous classified teleprinter message transmitted 3 days after the incident from the 39th 10th Air Base Group to Air Force Defense at Ent Air Force Base. The telegraph message described the events, including the chase episode. Largely agreed that Perkins based its information available. The committee's research felt that with anomalous propagandish, again, I don't know how to say that word, was possible. The lack of other targets on scope radar. So what they're trying to say is that, yeah, it could have been something, we don't know, but it went on and on and on, and that's pretty much just what had happened. They said that the last thing, the show on the 14th, that most significantly, the air crews originally involved in the incident, flying officers David Chambers and John Bradley from the first aircraft, and flying officers Ian Fraser Kerr and Ivan Logan from the second aircraft, were located and interviewed. The air crews involved all flew with the 23rd Squadron of the RAF in Water Beach and were scrambled at 2 o'clock in the morning and 2:40 in the morning on August 14th. Around 2 hours later, then Wimbledon and Perkins claimed the interception had occurred. So again, it's over a 2-night period where they're seeing something come in, and here's the thing: you have two fighter pilots have a visual on this thing, and then it all of a sudden literally just makes an insane maneuver and gets in behind the aircraft, and now you have a trained pilot that is doing everything he can to shake this thing off of his tail, and he can't do it.
That's wild.
So,
man.
I mean, you have
a really credible
6 pilots that witness these things. 6 pilots. And I'm going to tell you right now, again, I bring a perspective to it because I'm military.
Yeah.
If a military person is going to bring something to bear, if they're going to bring something to light, they understand the potential of them losing their job. Pilots especially, if a pilot's going to come forward saying, oh, I saw a flying saucer, it chased my aircraft, more than likely they're going to lose their flight status and they're going to be grounded. And guess what? That's pretty much a death sentence for an Air Force pilot. Either they want to fly or they're going to wind up getting out. They'll wind up to be some type of, working at some squadron where they're doing support work or something like that. So,
nobody, they don't want that. They work hard to get there. That's not an easy thing to be able to be in those positions, right? Like, it's not like you just walk in one day and that's what you get to do. Like, it takes time to get there. So for them to say that, and for those many people to have those encounters and to talk about it, that's pretty credible. And Not a Turkey says, hey guys, I'm here. So frustrating how bad the government sweeps these events under the rug. That really is, man. It's unfortunate that they do that. I mean, how many years did it get them to come forward and say that, oh yeah, by the way, we've had, what do they call them? UPBs. Is that what they call them now? UFOs, they call them something else. But it's pretty crazy. It's a wild world, man. There's a lot of just unknown mysteries out there. And I think that's crazy. Especially, you have that perspective. You spent, you were in the military, so you understand that world. And, those guys aren't just going to talk about it nonchalantly, I mean, that really had to trigger them for them to talk about it. But I know, kind of switching gears, that we have a couple of Dogman encounters that you're going to talk about, a couple of Dogman stories that you had prepped. And guys, these are really good, really, really scary. They're not far from where, Daniel's at, not far from the area at all. And so we're going to get into that in just a few minutes, but I want to give a shout out to everybody. Thanks for being here so very much. I'm so glad you guys are here joining us tonight. Just some stuff I want to go over. If you become a member this month, the month of June, and you're in the $2.99 tier or above, we're going to be doing a giveaway for every member. You're going to get a welcome package that anybody who joins this month. So thanks, guys, for all the support. Hope you guys are enjoying this live tonight. We're just chilling, hanging out, having some coffee. You got any Mountain Dew left, or have you drank it all?
Hold on a second here. I got 3 bottles. Hey, they're buy 2 get 2 free.
Oh my gosh, man! Look, I got about this much coffee left, and so we're
not ending it because you run out of coffee.
Come on, I might have to go get me some more coffee. I'm just kidding.
Oh, hey, I can anchor the show.
Yeah, you can. You're good at it. You're really good at it. So we could definitely do that. But excited to have everybody here. So why don't you get into to one of those encounters? And Dogman's something different, man. It really does scare me. And the one encounter, the witness who came forward to talk about it on my show, man, a military guy, again, very credible. He was actually deployed when he shared that encounter with me, and I know he had a lot he could lose by doing that. So I 100% guys, go check it out. It's a really good one. It's on the, I don't remember what episode it is. It's the only Dogman encounter on my channel other than these lives, but it's really, really incredible. And we'll see here. We got a couple people popping in here. Dave says hello from Northeast Oklahoma. What's up, man? You guys got a lot of encounters out there. So I'm not very far from Oklahoma. Glad to see you here. Stacy Doe says from Ohio. Glad to see you. My dad's from Ohio. So I spent a lot of time in Zanesville, Ohio as a kid growing up. So pretty familiar with that area. So glad you guys are here. Let's see. Taft the Wonder says pilots can't comment on it or they'll be deemed crazy. Yep. And no one wants a crazy person flying a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment. That is so true.
100% true.
That's a great way to break that down right there. Like, that is just, it says the sheer dollars and cents yeah, it takes the government would ground them for repeating it, and two, they wouldn't report to save their jobs. That makes sense. Like, totally different perspective, but I can tell you in law enforcement, there's things I saw that I will not talk about. I will not talk about because I'm afraid for my family, for one, and then I'm afraid just you don't know who's watching. Just different things. It's crazy, guys. It's a wild world, and obviously Bigfoot scary, Dogman scary, UFO scary, but so is other things in this world.
People are scary.
Exactly. People are scary. And, if you're not watching your back when you're out, you just, man, that's why I always say, stay prayed up is so very important. But man, if you're ready, why don't you read this Dogman encounter? I'm anxious to hear all about it, man.
Well, let me preface something that Taft said. Is exactly right. Not everybody in the military is going to have a top secret clearance. Like, I had a cosmic top secret clearance because of the work that I did. Yes, I was a police officer, but it's what I worked around. It's what I protected. It's what I guarded.
Right.
And we were on a thing called PRP, Personal Reliability Program. And pretty much what it is if an incident happens, like when my grandfather passed away, they pulled me off my PRP because I was not in my right state of mind, and I could not do my job.
Right.
I was not allowed to arm up. I was not allowed to go out and stand post. I had to work in the headquarters building and pretty much be a gopher, go get coffee, carry stuff to the mailroom, that type of stuff. Okay. So when something does happen, we don't say something. I've had some paranormal. Exactly. I've had some paranormal experiences, both in Germany and at FE Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Some of the experiences that I've had are actually documented in a book called Ghosts of the Old West or something like that. But things that I've seen, things that's happened to me while I was at FE Warren Air Force Base, I kept to myself until years, like decades later. Because if I came forward and said, hey, this just happened, I'm in trouble.
Well, it's the same way in law enforcement. Some of the things we would talk about, you kind of would talk among yourselves, but you would never report that to anybody or say anything because you don't want to be labeled as that guy. And that's what that brings up a good point. I'm trying to change that with this world too, because I remember the first time I told anybody about my encounter, they looked at me like I was crazy. And I am very fortunate that I've had some great guests on this show. You came forward and shared your story with me, and they trusted me with these encounters. But it makes you wonder how many people are out there that just will not talk about these things. And especially, the Air Force, those things, UFO experiences and that connection, but also with Dogman, because it's just, people are afraid to talk about it. And I think it's kind of like what you said with skinwalkers. Dogman absolutely, I believe, will follow you home. And so if you've had an encounter, and so it's, hopefully you guys, if you have an encounter and you want to send it to me, email me at mysteriesunknown@gmail.com. I'd love to have you on the show. It's a wild world, man. Such a strange world, but man, segue into that story. I'm excited to hear it.
Here we go, guys. So, okay. These both happened about 2.5 hours away from my house, from where I'm sitting right now. Okay. So the first one took place in Otter Tail County, which is near Fergus Falls, Minnesota. This encounter says, in one of the early months of 2009, a man reported seeing a dogman near Fergus Falls in Otter Tail County, Minnesota. Here's how he described the encounter. I started off by saying that I have never believed in any of these stories or creatures, but I saw something in early 2009 that really disturbed me and is making me change my mind. I'm not under the influence of any drugs. I have better than an average eyesight, and the lighting was near sunset, but I was able to see clearly. So, I'll get this out of the way and explain my story. maybe someone can shed some light on this one. I live in Fergus Falls, Minnesota, which is west of central Minnesota, about an hour's drive from Fargo, North Dakota. My mother-in-law lives out in the country about 3 or 4 miles outside of Fergus Falls. And I was staying there while my wife and her mother went shopping in town. They called me and asked if I wanted to go to a 7 p.m. movie, so I left the house at around 6:30, 6:45 to meet them at the theater. About 2 miles from their house, on a country road known as Wendell Road, along the Mistinica River, I saw 3 white-tailed deer. 2 of the deer were rather small, probably just yearlings, and a large doe, who I assumed was their mother. Me being the avid hunter, a lover of animals and wildlife, and future wildlife biologist, I stopped to look at the deer. I should also mention that I hunt in the area and have spent my whole life in the Fergus Falls area. The deer were following a small creek bed, which is in fact the Mistinica River. So there were hardly any trees except for one. Maybe I didn't see it there because of the tree, but as I noticed something crouching behind the tree on my side of the road looking at the deer, and to my disbelief, hunting them. It just sat there, looking at the deer, taking no notice of me, even though I was in my truck no more than 40 yards away, with a clear view, with nothing obstructing my view to it. It had one hand on the tree that it braced itself with. What struck me as shocking was the fact that it seemed to be a 2-legged creature and not a 4-legged one. Its hands appeared to have opposable thumbs and were rather slender and long, very unlike a wolf. The creature looked as though if it stood upright, it would be well over 7 feet, with a protruding muzzle, broad shoulders, a slender waist, thick muscular thighs, and being as there was snow on the ground, I couldn't see its feet. He was deep, dark brown in color throughout the entire body. After several seconds of looking at this creature in shock, the deer ran off. Then something amazing happened. It looked right at me, as though blaming me for losing his meal. He just sat there looking at me, blinking and not moving. This scared the crap out of me, so I hit the gas pedal and drove off. It was very dark after the movie, so I didn't much feel like trudging through the 3.5 foot of snow with the possibility of a monster lurking around in the area, who is currently looking for a meal that I might have scared off. So, at about 10 a.m., I went back there and walked down to the tree. Under the tree, there was no snow, so there were no tracks that I could see. But leading up to the tree were 3 tracks leading from my grandmother-in-law's field, which was hard black dirt. And if you know what a Minnesota field looks like in the late winter, early spring, you can't make anything out of the dirt because it's hard. When it freezes, it's all clumpy, and the tracks I did find were about 6 to 7 inches in length, but were clearly canine prints, with the exception of 4-toe looking marks in the snow. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty scary, man. Like that's that's pretty daggum scary.
I've been to
Could you
Fergus
imagine driving? I know that you're close to that area, so I'm sure you've been through there. And could you imagine having that encounter and then locking eyes with that thing and it looking at you and knowing that is so mad at you because you just cost it its prey. I mean, my first thought is like, man, this thing's going to come after me, going to come home after me. So that's really scary. Got a lot of people in the comments. Virginia S is here. Thanks for being a member, Virginia. Thanks for your email. Make sure to watch out for that package. I'll make sure to let you know before we send it off. So I thank you so much for the support, for being here.
Meek and Joe's in the house.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got a lot of people from, let's see, somebody else from, where are we at here? I got a question too. Let's go to this question real quick. MG
Sure.
Mindset says, I'll let you answer this. Any info on where Bigfoot Sasquatches migrate to during and after wildfires? That's a good question.
Well, again, I am not an expert.
Right.
I believe that if the one, I think they're going to move away as fast as they possibly can from it. And it's funny that MG Mindset, you post this question because I am, and I haven't told you about this, Josh, but I have found another interview with a colonel from the Washington National Guard that was present after the National Guard and Forest Service went up and around Mount St. Helens after it erupted.
Oh, now that's a story that we could dive into.
I'm telling you, I looked at it and I started doing digging, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What's this link? And it was to an interview of the colonel who was in charge of the ground operation. And he said that he had watched. Yeah, Mr. Duffy, you're 100% correct, and that's where I found that, and I think I can find actual documentation of it too. So
well, we'll try to get that hopefully together for this next live, because I think that man, that's super interesting, and to talk to somebody or firsthand words from somebody who was there, that's really crazy. So that brings up a good point, guys. In the comment section, let us know what you want us to talk about in the next live that we do. Monday, I've got a special episode for you guys. They're going to be compiling again some of the interviews over the last year. I'm going to put together longer podcasts for you guys. So watch out for that Monday. It's going to be a good one. But yeah, I would love to hear about that info, man. I want to hear what you think about this audio. We got some more Dogman stuff to talk about, but there's a guy that I come across, and his name is Mike Patterson. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Okay, so he is claiming to have a conversation with a 17-year-old Bigfoot. Says he communicates with these creatures. Now, I personally think, Bigfoot, because of their origins and where they come from, that they're evil, right? Well, his perspective is one of these, like, hey, they're in my backyard type thing. They're friendly. I feed them. We communicate. I'm not saying this is real. I just found it interesting. I thought you guys would enjoy that. I had never heard this audio before. I didn't even show you, man. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on it. And so let's. I'm going to play this, guys, and let me know in the comments what you think about this. I personally, I don't know what to make of it. It's odd. I'll just say that. So you ready, man?
I am.
Okay.
Go.
You, my friend.
You.
I miss you, my friend.
Well.
You know who?
Who?
Who? Yeah, who? Now, here, my friend. What is
What do you think?
I've heard that.
Have you?
Yeah, and from what I understand, and oh man, where did I hear that? And they had a vocal analyst, and it's not for anything that I heard from on Sasquatch Chronicles, but I want to say I was watching. The vocal analyst said that it is not in the tone of a human, so that's not a tone that a human can
make.
physically make. It's just not. It's not possible with the way our vocal cords are. A human is not capable of making that kind of tone or something like that. So
Yeah.
there may be some truth to that, but that is
Well,
crazy.
It is, and it's you know as well as I do that when you get into this, it gives you absolute, like you it's a rabbit hole that you go down, right? Like it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. But a lot of people in the chat are saying it's demonic and it sounds demonic. And I agree, guys. Like I think that is absolutely not good. Like I think it is absolutely demonic sounding, and everybody can have their opinion. Like this is the thing that me and Daniel, the thing that I love about having him as a co-host, we don't see eye to eye on everything. And that's great because you want to have different opinions. And everybody has their opinion, and that's okay. But man, that sound gives me chills the way that it sounded. And I don't know. I've not researched that. I just came across that audio and thought that you guys might enjoy that. But pretty interesting stuff, man. It's a wild world. So
yeah, and we got some things going on in the chat. So
yeah.
Again, I will never claim to be an expert on this at all. What I'm going to claim to be expert on, like I said, is I'm a firearm instructor.
Sure.
I have medals and awards and ribbons for my shooting. I'm going to be an expert on being a dad to my daughter, things like that. This is such a broad, what's the word? Subject to talk on.
Subject. Yeah.
And again, Josh and I, and if anybody's like first time viewers of our channel, Josh and I do not agree on Bigfoot being demonic. Some people saying it comes from interdimensional. Some people say that comes out of a UFO. What I saw, you guys, was flesh and blood, and I didn't see it one time. I saw a family unit over a period of months, and the only reason that I stopped seeing them is because my dad was almost killed in a car accident, October 25th, 1980, like 1986, 1985, around that time frame. So we had to leave this property. We moved back into the city, and it was almost a year before we went back to this property where my dad's camper was at. And when we went and looked, we lived in a fifth wheel. And if anybody knows what a fifth wheel is, they have that upper part where you can put like 2 twin mattresses up there. And that's a good 8-10 feet up in the air, if that, maybe a little higher. And when we went and it went back to the thing, I did a walk around of the camper, and I saw this part of your hand, like someone was trying to look into the windows to see if we were still there. Again, I'm not saying that 100% that was Bigfoot, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it might have been that family unit, because we had seen them so long. We'd interacted. My little brother said, "Oh yeah, I seen the 2 small ones all the time, because when we're out here, because we always played music, they would come out to the edge of the woods where you could barely see them, and they would sit down and they would listen to the music we were playing. And then when we turn it off, my brother said he'd see him get up and walk away."
Wow.
So I mean, there are so many different things that goes on with this. People have had absolutely terrifying experiences and encounters with these things. But then other ones, okay, here's a perfect example. That little girl that disappeared, and then they found her walking out of a cave, and 16 miles away at an elevation of 8,000 feet. And she said, "Oh, a bear saved me. A bear protected me."
What do you do with that? Like, what are you supposed to do with that?
I don't know.
Here's another one that I've talked to, is a gentleman that came on my show from Alberta, Canada. Really good episode, man. He he told me that he wanted to get out in the woods as a young man. Like he sold everything he had and he went on this long hike somewhere in Alberta, Canada. And along this hike, he said he ran into a pack of wolves, and he said they were surrounding him. And he thought, man, I am a goner. And if any of you guys seen wolves in the woods, it's scary enough to see something like that, especially a pack of them, because you're just, if they want you, they're going to get you. But he said these things surrounded him and he thought he was absolutely lunch. And he heard something back behind him. And so he turned around and he said he saw this Bigfoot creature step out into the road, and these wolves were just gone. They just left, right? So he didn't know what to do. So he just kind of took off and kept walking. And he said this thing paced him out of the woods. And I can't remember for how long, but he just kept walking and he kept walking, and it stayed next to him for a really long time. Some people are going to look at that and say Bigfoot saved his life. You know, it saved his life. But then there's others, you know, these encounters that are very menacing, like the gentleman from North Carolina who, you know, had these demonic looking eyes come at him in his tent. This creature cocked its head, looked at him. So there was just this ominous bad feeling. And then poof, they turned into these two orbs above their tent. And his dad saw faces in the orbs. He said he saw these like a sun god looking face in the orbs. And he said his dad prayed, rebuked it in the name of Jesus, and they were gone. So what do you do with that? It's a very divided world because it is just, there's so much to it. And it's like, I don't know. Elaine says it was 4 hours that followed him. Thanks, Elaine. I can't remember some of these encounters. I've talked to so many people, but it's really crazy. And then Taft says the wolf interview was crazy. Yeah, there's some wild stuff. It's just it's a wild world. And, you know, me and Daniel don't try to come on here and prove or disprove anything. Like my channel is not about that. My channel is to give people a safe place to talk about this, to share these encounters, because I know for me, it is very traumatizing to see something that nobody else understands and to come forward and talk about it. And it takes a lot of courage. And Daniel, I know for you, it's not an easy thing to do that. But once you take that lid off and you start talking about that, you find out really quick that there's other people out there that are like you that have had these encounters that makes you feel like you're not crazy, for one, and you're not alone. Yeah, it's crazy. Virginia says, I think they are all of these strange things.
Absolutely. You know, and I've had people on podcast, you know, on some of the episodes of yours that it's just been you and me, and I told you my stories. You know, I've had people just rake me over the coals. You know, I had one guy, I told him, you know, my encounter about seeing the Bigfoot. Oh, you perfect opportunity.
I know, man.
And you did take pictures. I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I was 12 years old, and I'm a Gen Xer. And
you didn't have an iPhone.
No. And did my dad have a camera? Absolutely. My dad had a camera, but it was my dad's camera. It wasn't Daniel's camera. And the way I was raised, if it does not belong to you, you don't touch it. Do not touch it.
I was raised the same way, man. Same exact way.
You know, the most encounters I've had have been in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had encounters in New Jersey, up in the Pine Barrens. When I was in the military, when I was going through ground combat training, I had an encounter. Yeah. You know, so I mean, and I had an encounter in Tennessee. That was the last encounter I had, was in 1992.
Yeah.
And Josh, you're the only person I ever told that encounter to, and that was the roughest encounter. And it wasn't that it was terrifying to me. It was emotionally hard for me because of the interaction my brother and I had at one point in time during that encounter. So
yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough. And I think it does help though to talk about those. I know it seemed to help you when you talked about them, and you know, it helped me when I talked about mine. And so that's the whole thing, that we're working on all kinds of stuff, you know, thinking about having a members only chat forum. We just got a lot of things in the works that we're working on, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this and just getting some value from this and learning something. And who knows, man, maybe save a life someday. And that's kind of what we want to do. But you got to read this comment from Austin. Austin says,
I know.
He says, I love you guys, but you guys compliment each other too often. Hello, just kidding. Love y'all. Thanks for the service in your channel, guys. It's one of my favorite. It's comments like that I just make my day. I love that, man. Austin, you're awesome. Thanks for being here, man. I'm glad it's one of your favorites. We are very honored to be able to do this. So why don't you read some of these comments, man? We got a lot of comments.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, we got is it Dino Lewis? I live in Wells and just got home from the pub. That's what I'm talking about. Great night. Just to finish it off, one of my favorite YouTube channels is doing a live show. Today has been a good day. Thank you.
That is awesome.
That's awesome. Patrick Nobles just jumped in and said, "Hey, folks." And then Austin, I read that comment you made. And yeah, I know we do compliment each other a lot, but I'm gonna tell you right now, when I first did when I answered his call, hey, does anybody have an encounter? Do you want to share it? I didn't think that I was going to meet a friend the way that I did. Honest to God. And you guys, you have to understand, I've always said you have people that come in and out of your life every single day. You do.
Yeah.
Very, very, very few people that you encounter every single day are going to impact your life. Just because you see somebody doesn't mean they're going to impact your life. And Josh has impacted my life. Him and I think a lot alike. We're both very deep in our spirituality. We're both God-fearing men. We both have had encounters where we scratch our heads because we're not really sure what happened. We don't know what we've seen. So we've done a lot. We've walked the same path. We really have.
It's wild. If you start comparing our lives, it had to be a God thing. Cause I mean, we are so similar. And I think that if you've done some of the things in the career paths that me and Daniel have taken, you're wired different. And so I think for me, I know that you understand how I think, and I can understand and relate to you, even though I wasn't in the military. I mean, you was a military police. I was law enforcement. So we get each other, and same way, man. I'm grateful for your friendship. Never in a million years did I think that it would be a lifelong friendship. So I do want to address something real quick. So Mr. Duffy 81, I want to make sure you understand what I meant. He says, I have done numerous interviews, but I will never agree to do a members only show for somebody. I'm not talking about a members only show. That's not what I'm talking about. When I said what we thought about doing is doing a members only group chat specific for members. So just an added perk for members for being here. We're working on a lot of things to bring value to the people who pay for those memberships. The show is always going to be free. You guys are always going to have access to these lives. I'm not going to hide stuff from you. There's going to be perk specific videos that maybe like an after show, things like that for the members. But I agree with you, Mr. Duffy. This stuff needs to be free. People need to hear about it. And that's my goal. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to do that. So just want to make sure you understand what I meant by that. So good comment. Let's see. Virginia S says, and this is a good point about what you said earlier. Says I've had a mama bear with a baby coming to get our fish. I started to reach for my camera, and then I felt like my life was more important than a picture. You think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like if you've never had an encounter, if you've never been in the woods, I mean, I can remember one of the first times I saw an animal besides a deer in the woods. I was with my dad. We were squirrel hunting, and I'll never forget it. Walked up around this corner, and there stood a gray wolf, one of the most majestic looking things I'd ever seen. In those moments, you freeze and you take in the moment, whether by fear or just shock or awe. The last thing on your mind is let me pull this out. Let me pull this out. Let me get this picture. Your brain does not really work that way. And there are Harley's been on the show a lot of times. He's got some great evidence, and he captured a picture, and it does happen. But not everybody does that. So I think I've missed some of these comments. He says, thank you. I'm glad we agree with that because I think the information needs to be available for everyone. Thank you for letting him comment on the channel. Man, you're always welcome to comment on the channel. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for the support. We wouldn't be doing this live without you guys. I mean, you guys are just as important as what we do. And it's just we're just all about the community and trying to get this stuff out there. So let's see here. MG Mindset says, seems like folks deny pushback on what they are afraid of. Sound familiar to reaction, Scott? Yeah, I mean, people do. They're afraid of what they don't understand. So, I mean, that's just true. Joe from Alaska says, hello. I know you've been here before, man. Joe, you've been here several times. Thanks for being here, man. Let's see. Dino Lewis says, to be honest, I think I'm lucky to have never had an encounter, but I believe the world is crazy and unbelievable. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a crazy place, man.
But see, Dino, I've also heard that the UK has had sightings of a large bipedal creature. I'm still looking for stories. I want to do as much research as I possibly can because I find it absolutely fascinating on where we're seeing these. Of course, Canada, the Yukon, North America, South America,
everywhere,
Australia. Someone put a request in the chat, one of our last lives, and has there ever been a Chinese sighting of a Bigfoot? Yes. Yes, there has. Yes,
Wow.
it's like the Yarzine or something like that. I'll have to look it up and try to get some more stuff. But I'm telling you,
it's crazy.
Oh, look at this!
What is it?
Dino Lewis, 5 pounds. Get a coffee on me. This is my first ever super chat. My dude. Yep,
What?
there you
Let
go.
me see.
McDuff,
Dude.
that's my dude, man. The yarn, yes.
Dino, thank you so much. I promise you I will put that to good use and I will get me a coffee. I drink a heck of a lot of coffee. So anyways, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You're awesome. We appreciate it. All the support is incredible. Like I said, I never in a million years thought when I started this that I would be a part of this amazing community and then I would meet people like Daniel and like you and somebody from overseas watching this live. It's crazy. So I love it.
Real quick, Sean. Hey, buddy, welcome. I'm glad you can join us. Louis, Ramon, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad you're on. And Dino, I'm drunk, LOL, but you guys deserve it. Honest. Thank you, man. Yes, the Yaren or the Yeren Asian Bigfoot is called.
Wow.
And I've looked at some pictures of it, like some drawings of it.
Yeah.
And they describe it as a tall, hairy man. And the way that it's, hey Ronnie, how's it going? The way that it is described, it looks like a pale, skinny, tall man with a super long beard and super long hair.
I'll have to look that up. I've never seen that, so I'll have to look into that. I want to get back to this comment real quick from Katrina. She says, "Hi, I've never seen one, but I do believe Bigfoot could be a mix hybrid, which is flesh and blood. But if they have fallen angel DNA, ultimately they are not good and are restrained by God at this time."
Yep.
I love that comment because that's straight where I land at it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
So who knows, man? I don't know. It's just a wild world, but you guys are all awesome. Like, this is an amazing community, and we're just glad to have you guys and give you guys a platform. War Chief says, Josh, I'll try to give you a call tomorrow. Hey, I will not be available tomorrow, but if you want to call me on Monday, I'm good. So call me anytime Monday. And if you guys want to reach out to me, if you got something for me or something for Daniel, you can send it to me at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com. The email address is scrolling across the bottom there. There's a lot of wild, weird stuff that goes on in this world, man. And let us know real quick, because this has been really popular on the live. People love this story. If you guys want to hear the scariest Dogman encounter you will absolutely ever hear, drop a 1 in the comments. If you want to hear the audio, we've put on every episode, but it is so good that, so let us know. If we get enough 1s in the comment section, we'll play this again for you guys, because I'm telling you, if you've not heard this encounter, whoo, I don't know that you're going to hear a scary one.
Hey Dino, if you remember, check the replay or look into this again tomorrow, because I don't know if you were here when I covered a story from Lake and Heath and Bentwaters that happened in 1956. It was a UFO. So I don't know if I'm sure you know where Lake and Heath and there, because it's over by Suffolk, I think. So yeah, check it out.
Okay, dude, we're getting a lot of 1s. So if we get one more, we'll play it.
What's up, Mab Investigations? Oh, hey, Bo wants to hear it again.
Good to see you, man.
Hello from Texas, Louis. Awesome.
Let's see. Taff, you need to have
there it is. There it is. McDuffie.
Oh, there's the one.
There's the ones. They're coming.
Okay. All right. All right.
Let me
Okay,
set
guys.
the mood on my end. Let me set the mood on my end.
No, don't turn that light off. I'm leaving my light on. My light is
Leave
staying
it on.
No, I'm leaving it on. Okay, guys, listen. I don't blame me if you can't sleep tonight because it's about 5 minutes long. It is absolutely crazy. I'm going to just shut up and play this. So hold on because this is very, very scary. Listen to the guy's voice. All right, here we go.
And, you know, this thing keeps drawing closer and closer to me, and I just can't make out what this thing is. It don't look like anything that I've ever seen. It gets close to the barbed wire fence on the right-hand side, and I think, well, maybe it's going to slow down or maybe it'll veer off where it won't run into that barbed wire and it'll turn aside out of my way. But it didn't do that. Instead of doing that, this thing sped up. And instead of turning aside, it jumped right over the fence. And it landed on my side of the fence in between the ditch line and the fence. And then it took another bound. And the next thing I know, this thing is out in the road. I mean, it's right next to my vehicle. And it scared me so bad that I just jerked the wheel to the left and went over as far as I dared into the left-hand lane. And this thing, it started running right along the side of me. I had cherry bomb mufflers on that car, and if you know what they're like, they're loud. But yet, at the same time, I could hear the nails of this thing, the toenails, click, 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 clacking on the road as it ran along beside me. And I could see it good now. I really didn't want to look at its face. I really didn't want to see its face. But I couldn't help it. It's just like I couldn't help myself. I had to. And, I mean, this thing was tall. It had to be at least 7 feet tall. It towered over the top of my car. And it was running along beside me. It couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 feet off the passenger side of my car. Right even with my passenger side window. I could see it just as clear as day. And I know that if it wanted to, this thing could have reached right in my car window and right over to the driver's side from the passenger side, and this thing could have grabbed me and it could have drugged me right out of the car. If it wanted to, it could have just ripped my head off, or it could have leaned in my car window and it could have bit my head off. I don't know. I know it could have, and I wanted to get out of there, but I didn't dare because I was in this steep curve, and I knew that if I hit the gas, this car probably wasn't going to be able to handle the curve, and it was going to run off in the ditch, and I was going to wreck. And I was going to be there alone with this thing, and I was going to be at its mercy. And for a little while, it just ran along beside me and just didn't pay me any attention. But that didn't last. Just slowly, seemed like it took forever, but just slowly, it started to turn its head, and it looked at me. Couldn't help it. I looked full in its eyes. I wish that I hadn't. I wish I'd never seen it. I wish I could erase the picture of what I saw from my mind, but I can't. This thing had great big black eyes. All I could see was black, and then they just looked as black to me as a bottomless pit. They just seemed soulless to me, and I just had a sense of evil that came over me. And this thing, when it looked at me, it was like that it could look through me and look to my very soul. And like I said, I just felt like I had been touched by evil. I don't know how else to explain it. And there was such a fear. And I wanted to scream or to holler out or do something. But it just seemed like my mouth just dried up like cotton, and there wasn't a sound that would come out. And I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get away from this thing, but I couldn't because I was afraid I was going to wreck. And then it came closer, and it leaned down. It leaned in, and mind you, this thing is running beside my car the whole time. And it stuck its head in my window, and it grabbed hold of my door with its right hand. And that, I don't know how to describe it as other than that. It was a hand. This thing had huge hands, and it had long black nails, maybe about 3 inches long, 2 or 3 inches long, long black thick nails. And this thing put its right hand on my door, and I could hear it. It put its left hand on my doorknob, and it was jerking at my door, and it was jiggling my door handle. but this thing was leaning in my window, and it was looking right at me. And it seemed like that it curled its lips back, and I know it smiled at me, but I don't really remember hearing it. All I could hear was the sound of my engine and the sound of its toenails as it ran along beside my vehicle, going clack, 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 clack on the pavement. And it breathed on me. Seemed like I could smell blood and maybe decaying flesh as it breathed on me. It was horrible. And I thought I was dead. I thought this was the end of me. I thought I was a goner. I thought I was a dead man for sure. At just about that time, the curve ended, and I came into a straightaway. And I just hit the gas and pushed it to the floor. And I took out of there. I took my eyes off of it, and I looked ahead. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw it lose a grip on my car door, and I saw its smells rake across the top of my door. And its head disappeared from my window. And as I drove away from it, as I pulled away from it, I looked in my rearview mirror, and I could see it getting smaller and smaller as it began to slow down. And the last thing I remember, the last thing that I saw, this thing veered off to the right again and jumped over the fence and disappeared into that field. I've never been so scared in all of my life. I mean, it was just absolutely horrifying.
You better turn that light back on, Daniel.
Nope, not happening.
Whew. I have heard that story so many times now, but every single time it absolutely gives me chills. Hey, I got to say somebody very special is in the chat. Kevin Dean, Woo Pig Sue. If you guys don't know, I'm from Arkansas, huge Razorback fan, so he noticed my hat. Every time, though, we watch a game or we're watching a game in different places and he wears Razorback gear, we lose. So don't wear any this year, man. Hoping for a good year. So don't wear any of that gear. But I hope that this stuff doesn't keep you guys up at night, because it is absolutely terrifying what he saw. So, yeah.
So do you want me to do the next Dogman, or do you want me to do the next UFO one?
No, I think we're getting close to wrapping the show up. Not quite yet, guys, so don't go anywhere. But I think that since we're in the vein of Dogman, let's jump right into the Dogman encounter, man. I think that would be good.
Okay, perfect. All right, you guys. Again, this one took place. This one was actually closer to my location than the last one I read. This encounter is called, well, I'm just going to say a Dogman encounter at an Air Force base.
Ooh.
The 148th Fighter Wing Minnesota Air National Guard, based in Duluth, Minnesota, St. Louis County. September 1999, on an Air Force base in St. Louis County. And the account goes like this. First off, I would like to keep my name confidential, just for the fact that this happened on an Air Force base, and I don't know who reads this stuff. This happened sometime in September of 99. I forgot the exact date. It was early in the month, though. It was between 2 and 3 a.m. I was a security forces airman working third shift, which is a mid shift, on base patrol. Now, mind you, this is an Air National Guard base that I worked at full time. It's on the north side of Duluth, Minnesota, next to the International Airport. I know exactly where this is. Like, I could jump in my truck right now and drive the 2 hours and 4 minutes and be at the front gate of this base. Let's see here. North to northeast is nothing but large wooded areas, forested areas. Third shift on the base was boring, between 10 and 6. Now, again, like the one incident that I read, the Morbach monster, their third shift was 11 to 7. And us full-timers worked a skeleton crew, usually only 5 or 6 of us on third shift, which that's the norm. I was in the patrol truck doing my usual rounds, checking doors and fence lines. Late at night, on the north side of the base was usually creepy enough when patrolling by yourself. Always, I was on this road, driving towards our baseball field, when my headlights caught a pair of eyes reflecting back at me. They were almost eye level with me. I was sitting in a Ford F-150 around this time. A few of the guys had been seeing this huge buck around the property, like a 16 pointer. Now, it depends on where you're at in the country. I've seen people count them an 8x8 or
Right.
counted it a 16 point. So you can pick it however you want to. Let's see here. Okay, so like a 16 point or something around that size. I was about 80 yards or so away when I saw the at me. So I'm thinking it's the big deer. I gotta see this thing, I said to myself. So I hit the gas and started speeding towards the field. This is where it all happened so fast. It's almost hard to explain. There was a little slope behind the baseball field. It sloped down probably 12 to 15 feet into a brush line. The brush went about 30 feet, then turned into a thick tree line. The brush was probably armpit high to me and pretty tough to traverse through. Being so thick, or to traverse through being so thick. As I turned into the baseball field and turned the truck towards the thing, I just caught the rear end of something leaping down the slope below the line of my sight. The thing was no more than 20 feet ahead of me when it leaped. All I got to look at was the back end of this thing, and it was big. The best I can do to describe it is say that it was a wolf dog like in nature. It had a tail longer than 2 feet. The hind legs looked looked exactly like what those of a dog. Same with the back paws, but the paws were huge. They were bigger than my hands, for sure. The hair, the fur, it was wavy, yet matted and thick. The color was blondish or very light brown. I didn't notice any gray in it, but this all happened within about 2 to 3 seconds. I sat in my patrol truck for a couple of seconds, confused and thinking, I know what I just saw, but it couldn't have been what I just saw. So I hopped out no, with my flashlight and M16 rifle. I walked to the edge of the slope. All I heard was this thing running through the woods in front of me, heading to the northwest direction. Let's see here. And this thing sounded like a moose charging through the trees. It made a lot of noise. That's when I started to get really scared, thinking, this is some sort of wolf or whatever it could be. My M16 is not going to do a thing to this animal. So I jumped back into my patrol truck as fast as I could, headed back to the security forces headquarters. I never told any of the other members about this for fear of ridicule or being called crazy. This is no way there is no way I misidentified this thing. I'm a trained observer. I'm an avid hunter, and I've worked with animal rehabilitation with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources in the past. I know my animals. I know the North Woods extremely well. I saw exactly what I saw, and that was the back end of a large wolf dog type thing that basically had its eyes level with mine while I was in my patrol truck.
Mm.
The back end was definitely much larger than any large deer or black bear I've ever seen. The points I remember the clearest were the tail and the back paws, as well as the texture and color of the fur or hair. This is my story. I have never told it to anyone for fear of ridicule. I swear it to be the truth. Signed, Anonymous. Early September of 1999 at 2:30 a.m.
Whew. That's pretty scary, man. You know, what do you do with these type of encounters? Like, I mean, why come forward with it and then just do it anonymously? Like, why? What did that person have to gain? So it's just, I don't know.
I know what he had to lose.
Yeah, lots, a whole lot to lose. But that comes back to hopefully, somebody watching this podcast now or in the future, will know about that stuff and maybe save a life, because these are bad, and that's why I always say, stay prayed up. It's so important, because you don't know what you're coming across every single day, or what you might run into, or what's watching you. So,
yep,
man, that's wild. That's wild. But
hey, can I do this last UFO story? I promise you, I can get it done super quick, because I won't go into. I'll just go into the 2 dates on what was seen. I won't go into the all follow up stuff that they did with it.
Yeah, because I'm about out of coffee, man. So I'm about ready to wrap this thing up, man. I'm getting stiff and sore sitting in this chair, and so yeah. So if you can make it fast, if not, we can save it for next time. But
I can make this fast.
Okay, do it.
Okay, Dino, you mentioned it, my friend. So here it is: the Rendlesham Forest incident, aka Britain's Roswell. 26th and 28th of December 1980. Suffolk, England, United Kingdom. The Rendlesham Forest incident was a series of reported sightings of unexplained lights near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk. There you go, Suffolk, England, in December of 1980, which became linked to UFO landings. The event occurred just outside RAF Woodbridge, which was being used at the time by the United States Air Force. U.S. Air Force personnel, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles L. Halt, claimed to have seen things they described as UFOs. You had a Lieutenant Colonel, Deputy Base Commander, see these things. The occurrence is the most famous of alleged UFO events that have happened in the United Kingdom, and is among the best known reported UFO evidence or events worldwide. It has been compared to the Roswell UFO incident in the United States, and is sometimes called Britain's Roswell. The UK Ministry of Defense has stated that the event posed no threat to national security, and therefore it was never investigated as a security matter. Skeptics have explained the sighting as a misinterpretation of a series of nocturnal lights, a fireball, the Ordfordness Lighthouse, and bright stars. December 26th, around 3 o'clock in the morning, 1980, reported as 27 December by Halt in his memo on the UK Ministry of Defense. A security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights apparently descending into the nearby forest. These lights have been attributed by astronomers as a piece of natural debris seen burning as a fireball or a meteor over southern England at that time. Servicemen immediately thought it was a downed aircraft. According to Halt's memo, upon entering the forest to investigate, they witnessed a glowing object that was metallic in appearance with colored lights. As they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to have moved through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Pendleton, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest. Although there was no publicized mention of this at the time, and there was no collaboration from other witnesses. Shortly after 4 a.m., local police were called to the scene, but reported that only lights could be seen where those from the Ordfordness Lighthouse, some miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of the 26th, servicemen returned to the small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, as well as burn marks and broken branches of nearby trees. At 10:30 a.m., the local police were called out again, this time to see the impressions, which they thought could have been made by an animal. So that's the first sighting.
Wow.
The second sighting happened on December 28th. The deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours of December 28th, 1980, reported as the 29th by Halt. They took radiation readings in the triangle of depressions and the surrounding areas using an ANPDR-27, which is a Geiger counter, a standard U.S. military radiation survey meter. Although they recorded 0.07 micro whatevers per hour, in the other regions they detected 0.03 to 0.04 per hour around the background level. Furthermore, they detected a similar small burst over half a mile away from the landing site. Halt recorded the events on a microcassette recorder during his investigation, and that a flashing red light was seen across the field to the east, almost in line with the farmhouse, as the witnesses had seen on the first night. The Orford Nest Lighthouse is visible further to the east in the same line of sight. Later, according to Halt's memo, the 3-star-like lights were seen in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Halt said the brightness of these hovered for 2 or 3 hours and seemed to have beamed down a stream of light from time to time. Astronomers say they explain this as starlight lights as bright stars. So there's the incidents that happened. Now, one, I've heard Colonel Halt's tape. I've heard it.
Wow.
I've read Colonel Halt's memo, and you can hear it. And the people that they brought were security police officers. But it even gives this more credit is because this is your deputy base commander. This guy has everything to lose.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, it does. It makes, I mean, like way more to lose than he does to gain by sharing that. So that's pretty incredible, man. It's a wild world, and that's a good last story to wrap things up, because I know we've been all over the place tonight, but man, I think somehow these things are all connected. Very believable stuff. And thanks again, man, for the research that you did to find those stories and encounters. And I love the connection to them, because you were, military police, you knew some of the places, been there. So I think that's awesome. And guys, thanks again for hanging out with us. I wish we could go longer, but I am out of coffee and I am getting stiff from sitting in this chair. I'm not in my normal studio setup, so this thing is not near as comfortable as my studio. But I appreciate, guys, everybody being here. If we didn't respond to you in the comments, we read them. We appreciate it. Thanks everybody for the comments. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the support. Thanks for being members.
Hi, Janet.
One last thing. Yeah, hi, Janet. Thanks for being here. If you guys are just jumping on, make sure to go back from the beginning and watch this. A lot of good stuff in this live. Plug my dad's book again. Great book. He's got lots of different books that you guys can purchase. If you're interested in these, you can email me at mysteriesunknownpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get you in touch with him. But, man, Daniel, you were awesome, man. I got to say it again. You're awesome.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I love this type of stuff, and the fact that we were going to do some UFOs because someone suggested on the last live. Thank you for letting me dive into something that really touches home with me.
Oh yeah,
because it happened to my brothers in arms. It happened. I get a little emotional because you know what? I miss it. I miss it every day.
I know.
Oh, man, I'd be on 34 years if I was still staying in. I'd be going on year 35. So,
man, well, listen, thank you for your service, man. Seriously. And I'm not saying it because you're my friend. I mean, but thank you for your service. Guys, if you're a veteran, if you've served one day or 34 years, man, thank you for our freedom. Thank you for what you've done for our country. We're just very honored for men and women that want to serve this country. If you're law enforcement, my hat's off to you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Guys, y'all are awesome. Let us know what you'd like to see next. If you guys want to become a member this month, we are running a special $2.99 and above. If you join that tier, we're going to be sending out a gift packet to you guys from my wife just to say thanks for being part of this community. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. If you've got something you want to say to me or Daniel, we want to know. Daniel wants to know when the next live is. We don't know. So we talk almost every single day. And right now we don't have a set schedule for these lives. Every Monday I drop episodes of these encounters. We really didn't know the lives would take off like they did, but people really love these. And so we're going to try to come up to at least one time of month that's set in stone that you guys know that's going to be alive. But we just try to get them on here as often as we can, because one, we can hang out and chat. Yep. And then two, so you guys can talk about this stuff and then be involved in the channel. So, but when we get some more information on that, we will definitely let everybody know. If there's something you want to talk about in the next live, email me, let me know. We do respond to emails and chats. Hit us up. We like to talk to everybody. Thanks again for the support. I'm blown away by all the support. So you got anything else, man?
I just want to say, you guys, thank you. I'm seeing new names in here. Yeah. I'm seeing some old names in here. You guys, thank you so much. I mean, really, I truly, truly appreciate it. Again, we didn't think that this was going to take off the way it is. We've been called, we're a legend. I can't believe that. That's crazy. You guys are fantastic. Mr. McDuffie, I'm going to go ahead and try to find that. Or Dino, I'm going to try to find that footage of that helicopter chasing UFO. You guys, thank you so much. We truly appreciate you guys jumping on. Even if you're a little late, just go back and watch the replay on this. Yeah. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. And again, like my brother Josh said, if you become a member in the month of June, at the $2.99 tier and above, you guys will be receiving a gift pack or surprise package from Josh's wife. As our way of saying thank you so much for joining our
absolutely.
Is there a tribe or a clan? What are we calling it?
I've been calling it the tribe. That's kind of the word I've come to, the tribe, community tribe. I like the word tribe. So I've been saying it like that, trying to come up with the right word. But I think tribe is good. I wanted to shout out to another member, Alexandria. She's been here since the very beginning, Alexandria 85. So thanks for being here. If you are a member of this channel, you're greatly appreciated. I'm working on some stuff for you guys, so bear with me. Who knows where this channel is going to go and what we're going to be able to do, but hopefully save lives. Somebody will hear about the gospel, the word of Jesus, and then you guys understand that how powerful prayer is. I'm never going to hide that on this channel.
Never.
I'm not going to force it on anybody at all. You're welcome here whether you believe or not, but that's important to us, important to me, and that's why I always say what I do at the very end of it. Virginia S says, great show. I love my tribe. That is awesome. We love you guys being here. It's been awesome to hang out with you. But Not a Turkey says, Mr. Zona is a great channel name. Great hanging out with everyone. God bless you and your families. That's so true. So I'm glad that that name just popped into my head. So I just didn't know it'd be available, but hey, it is, and it worked out. So, but guys, listen, I'm going to say it every single time. Stay prayed up. So important to stay prayed up. But that's all I got. I'm out of coffee. So what about you, man?
I'm done.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here, for hanging out with us. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Stay prayed up. Later.